His Worship the Mayor and Councillors of Malmesbury, England's oldest borough in the beautiful county of Wiltshire, bid a warm welcome to all our guests and visitors. Tarry a while in our town. We wish you a safe journey. God save the Queen.
Hello everyone, my name is Campbell Ritche. I'm Chair of Malmesbury Town Team and also Malmesbury Town Councillor, and thank you very much for inviting me along this afternoon to talk to you about Explore Malmesbury and what we've been doing, although I suspect in the course of this afternoon I'm going to learn an awful lot more from the other speakers, and you're going to gain from the benefit of hearing from me. It's a different type of project. There are many links with what we've just heard around Winchester 878 that we're doing in terms of trying to engage and tell stories, but our environment is a bit different. We are telling stories across the whole of the town. How many of you have been to Malmesbury? Okay, one or two. What a fantastic place, isn't it? Yeah. For those of you who've been, you would agree. It's a hilltop town in the north of Wiltshire. It's well worth a visit. And we've got, like lots of other market towns, lots of great buildings. But what's special about Malmesbury is that people have been living on this hilltop for 2,800 years. It was originally an Iron Age port. There's been walls around the town for that long. And we've got stories to tell from each of the various parts of history that we've got. We can obviously knock Winchester's Saxon history into a cocked hat if we want to, but we've also got lots of other periods where we can do that as well. And of course, when you're telling people about what a wonderful place, you say, well, come and have a look at the Abbey, or come and have a look at our Guild Hall or the Market Hall, or walk around the Anglo-Saxon street pattern. But it's much more than that, really, isn't it? It's about people. And it's about the things that people connect with, because there's only so many old churches that you can go into unless you get to know about the people who made that church and what happened in there that's important. And along the way, we've already heard we're England's oldest borough, but we're the birthplace of Thomas Hobbes, the world's most famous philosopher. We're the only town who's had an MP who got lost at sea in a ballooning accident. We've got our own witches. We had our own witch trials in Malmesbury, and we sent 14 people. We accused 14 people of witchcraft. We sent 4 to Salisbury, and 2 were hanged. We of course were England's most rotten borough in the 1800s. It was named in Parliament. So we had 13 people electing 2 MPs, and of course significant sums of money changed hands. And that links back into some of that Saxon history. So it's not just about things that we want to talk about that happen, but we want to try and connect into things we're going to be doing as a town in the future. And so on that Saxon theme, next year is the 1100th anniversary of Athelstan becoming king. And we're going to go bonkers about that in Malmesbury. And we're going to use Explore Malmesbury as part of our storytelling. But at the heart of this, why are we doing Explore Malmesbury? Why is this important to us? Why have we gone to the work of creating Explore Malmesbury and all of the things that go with it? It's because fundamentally we're working to try and support the economic performance of our high street and our local businesses, and trying to keep the town of Malmesbury working as a whole. And it is a living town, it's a working town. We've still got butchers and bakers on the high street, and we want to very much want to keep that. It's a population of about 6,000 people, for those of you who don't know, so it's of a scale that you can put your arms around it. But the background that led to Explore Malmesbury being created was our banks are closing. They've all closed now. We had a brand new supermarket, Waitrose, arrive on the outskirts of town and that was a huge threat. It's taken hundreds of thousands of pounds of business out of the town centre, and now we've got an Aldi arrive, and it's things like that, you know, that can fundamentally change how a local economy works if you don't start to do something about it. Key things that are important for our town centre is, of course, its iconic high street. We've got a fantastic collection of independent shops. We'll talk, I'm sure, a bit more about those in a moment. But it's about convenience, it's about a great place to go, and it's about social. So there are aspects that bring people into the town. Just for starters, people like to talk. You know, you can't go and talk in an Amazon warehouse, whereas you can if you're doing your shopping or having a cup of coffee in the high street. So we're about fundamentally increasing footfall, about increasing dwell time, and we know that if people spend longer in our town centre, then they're going to spend more money, and we're about supporting new openings and expansions. And I'm very pleased to report that we've got probably the lowest unoccupied rate among our retailers that we've ever had, and there is where stores become vacant, and there's certainly at the smaller end of the stores very quick replacement. It's our foot in the banks that's been a bit more problematic. So we saw an opportunity. It's not often you see the European flag there, but we're talking about this project starting back in 2018, 19, and the EU had a social fund to support the rural economy. Malmesbury qualified as being in the rural economy. Probably helped that I was on the management team of the board that was allocating the grants. Perhaps let's not look too much at that, but where you see an opportunity, then you know you've got to follow the money. And I think you've had that experience at Winchester where 878, and you know that's what we're all working with in various places. So we had the leader programme, we had Bail Action, and Malmesbury made bids into the European Social Fund for a number of different projects, and we were able to redevelop part of the museum. We got new public toilets in Malmesbury. I'll let you into I was a mayor of Malmesbury 2 years ago during the COVID year. The only time I got to put the full rig on was when we were opening the new public toilets. I enjoyed myself anyway. And I think it's important to point out as well that it's that what we're talking about here is much more than just the web app of Explore Malmesbury. It is about putting the infrastructure of various things around it. And so we were using the funding that we got from the social fund in Malmesbury under the management of Malmesbury Town team to create a Malmesbury gift card, which is about keeping money in the local economy, and about developing other forms of communication like our visitor guide, which goes to all residents as well as being very popular, and running our Discover Malmesbury website, which has become the go-to places for where you find out about events going on within the local area. So what we're really talking about here is an element which is in a part of a lot of other things that are going on, and the type of messaging that goes with that, where we're creating the impression of Malmesbury as being a place that's vibrant and treasured and historic, it isn't everywhere, but also connecting Malmesbury as well back with its own economic infrastructure. So that little map there in the corner is illustrating that we are looking to try and make the strongest connections we possibly can with our local economic area. And the sharp-eyed among you and those who know North Wiltshire and South Gloucestershire will note that we've deleted Tetbury, our nearest town, from the map and substituted Highgrove, where of course the King lives, and I'm not sure whether they've cottoned on to that yet. So what we want Explore Malmesbury to show, which is our web app and part of our storytelling armoury, is that Malmesbury is worth a visit, that you have to come to the town for the best experience, that it's more than a visit to the Abbey. A lot of people will come to Malmesbury and will get the regular round the Cotswold trips, and they'll bring a busload of 15 people and they'll jump off outside the Abbey, go into the Abbey for half an hour, jump back in the minibus and go. And it's much more clearly than that. That is also a great base to stay for a longer visit into the Cotswolds and to Bath and Bristol. Why not stop in Malmesbury? And it is a must for anyone interested in history, or number of specific parts of it. One of the things we're trying to do is to make sure that well, you might just be interested in general English history, but if Hobbes is your thing, or if the Saxons are your thing, or if the Iron Age is your thing, or if the Reformation is your thing, or if rotten boroughs are your thing, and lots of other bits of story with it, if you can come to Malmesbury as well, because we can tell you and put you in the places where those things actually happened. And also to communicate that Malmesbury is a town that is a strong and vibrant community. We are working well as a community, and we welcome people coming to us. The project to put Explore Malmesbury together was a genuine collaboration across the community as a whole. We got most of the funding from the EU, but we also got the matching funding from the local community. So people like our Warden and Freeman organisation, which is can trace itself back into the Saxon period. The team putting together the White Walls Way, the Athelstan Museum, the Abbey, U3A, History Society, the Civic Trust and so on, all came together. A number of those organisations not only contributed the whole of their archives to us being able to create Explore Malmesbury, but also committed a lot of time and effort and also contributed financial support as well. And of course the Town Council had a major part to play. Like all projects, so you had a project team. We went through the specification, the supplier selection, the partnership building, the development, the implementation. Because everybody knows about those type of things, we put together a very strong local team of experts in their areas, all working voluntarily, but made sure that we had project management, funding expertise, navigation, user look and feel, experience, content creation, marketing and sustainability, experience from commercial roles or public sector roles, or from previous experience that we could apply. And we also had a reasonable amount of our own internal technical expertise. One of the big discussions that we had right at the very start working through this, are we going to do an app or are we going to do a web app for Explore Malmesbury? As you'll have seen, we went down the web app route, and for what we're looking to try and do, I'm still pretty sure that's the right decision because of the flexibility and the access and the ability to directly manage content ourselves, and because we're looking for a tool that's going to work both on phones and on PCs at home in terms of bringing people into introducing them into Malmesbury. And that could be an interesting discussion to have and develop if that's what people are interested in. But we are in the web app world, not in the pure app world. Our specification, which is something that we spent time working through, and these are kind of soft words but describe pretty fundamental things, is that we wanted Explore Malmesbury to be community owned, not just physically, because it is, the town team as a community interest company, but community owned in terms of it's ours, it's Malmesbury's. We can do things that we want to do when we want to do them. So of course some of them we have to pay for, but other things we can do for ourselves, and we give ourselves the ability to do as much as possible for ourselves. It had to be engaging, easy to use, that where we wanted to create new content we could do that reasonably easily ourselves, that had to cope with multimedia, that had to work both on laptops and on phones, and of course right across the whole phone set of families, easy to update, sustainable in the sense of being something that we could keep going year after year after year. We've all done, haven't we, projects where, or we've seen projects where people have got the capital, they've done the project, and a year later nobody's maintaining it, it's gone. This is about something that is going to evolve and develop, and we're now successfully into our third year in doing our first set of updates in terms of the technical side, with lots of new content being added in between. And of course secure, and we hope have a wow factor. Make something a bit different, which is where the help from University of Winchester in particular has come into its own. We went through the usual supply selection process. I can't say we had thousands queuing up to offer free services. I'm going to put a call out to Ubisoft as soon as we leave this room for further support for Athelstan 1100. But we did get a lot of genuine commitment and going over and beyond and in many places access into support we just could not have got in the commercial world. So we had a company called TBPP who was still with us as part of the really sort of the creation support team, the overall sort of project envelope in terms of delivery. And then we worked through them very closely with the University of Winchester here and the CEDI team, which gave us a lot of input in terms of the customer experience we're looking to try and do, the academic experience about what works, the practical experience what works, and gave us access into the student group here. So a lot of the content that we've had from within Explore Malmesbury, particularly as we develop the augmented reality world, is coming from student input here. And that's expanded out into us now working with 3 different universities on different aspects of the project, all the type of things that we put on in Malmesbury. And then a local company called Sprechen in terms of the database and front end development and support. And so if you can imagine, behind Explore Malmesbury essentially is we've got a database where the content goes in, and then that links through to the front end that you get to look and see. And we've got pretty straightforward tools that allows us to put stuff into the back end, manipulate it around and come up with the front end experience that people get. We've got 3 ways of exploring Malmesbury. We couldn't quite work out really, I think, what the best way people would use Explore Malmesbury to be able to navigate around. So we thought, well, we think of 3 ways, so we might as well have 3 ways. So that's what we did. And just to show you, because I'm sure you've all been into Explore Malmesbury before you came here. You've all done your homework, of course, I'm sure you did. But essentially what we've got is a series of trails which you can choose your trail. And let's just, for the sake of argument, pick the which trail. Obviously underneath this is geopositioning, so if you're in Malmesbury, it's on your phone, then you've got the little blue dot following you around, telling you where you are. And I don't know which one's this. Yeah, so we're telling the story of the Malmesbury Witch Trial using content that has largely been produced ourselves or with students, mixture of different pictures, and we made some nice little films. So
Be Goody Orchard, and this being my last testament, taken down by the preacher in the Salisbury jail. He sits here.
And so on, and you can go and explore it for yourself. And we had a ball making those films. I can tell you some of the places that we went to and the things we got up to was great fun. So we've got trails, and people can navigate their way around based on a theme, and we're adding to those. A particular favourite of mine is we're just starting to play with a cemetery trail. Would you believe we've got a cemetery from the start in the 1870s. We've got a very active family history group in the U3A, and we're starting through them to collect different histories, and we're starting to create a trail around our local cemetery. Some of the stories that are coming out, absolutely incredible. And alongside that, doing a conservation environment management plan, so we can put information in here about the 60 different forms of wildflowers that we've got growing in the cemetery and so on. It makes that space work much better. So you can get down to quite a low detailed community level of involvement with what we're doing here, as well as the big macro tourism type of stuff. We've got different sorts of explore interactions, so we have quite a lot of fun with our abbey, of course, and we can take people into the abbey. We've had a drone fly up inside, because everybody knows that the south porch in Malmesbury Abbey is one of the best of its type in carvings in Europe. So we also know, just as we're hearing from Winchester 878, it's all this stuff was in colour. So we might as well put it in colour and let people get a chance and a feel to see what sort of thing was going on. And this is a different way of navigating, of course. So the trails, you're going from point to point. Here we're letting people step through while picking up different bits of information. And an obvious example, Malmesbury Abbey is only a third the size it was. It's got a big wall. What did it used to look like on the other side of the wall? Obviously it was the rest of the abbey that used to be there before it all came tumbling down And so this is the type of thing that we've been putting into the mix to create that wow factor that we spoke about. The third way of navigating is points of information. And this is basically the information that we've got in here. There's over 400 now of these around the town. As you can just follow your way around, you can see a point of information. If you want to go into it in a bit more detail, you can. And so one of the things that we're working on is showing more and more information about our shops and retail businesses. The gold circle means they're in the Malmesbury gift card. This is a shop that's now called the Cake Tin. There's a Tarantula Cafe because somebody used to work in there, and so we're adding in voices.
The place that we loved too was a Tarantula coffee bar.
So that's showing that we've got the multimedia capability that we were talking about. A big favourite for people is where we put, for example, art and pictures in the places where the artist was, where they painted the picture. So you'd be standing in the high street, looking up the high street, and that was the exact spot that artist painted that particular picture. And with having JMW Turner spending a lot of time in Malmesbury, we've obviously had quite a lot of fun with that. So lots of different ways of navigating around and using Explore Malmesbury as a tool, and hopefully that whets a little bit of appetite for a few people. In terms of financials and performance, which is a key thing everybody wants to know about, this was a £34,000 project when we've set it out to do it, but that included a reasonable chunk of bespoke content. So it was, in terms of the guts of it, not at that type of level. Our annual support and hosting costs for us, about £1,500 a year. We launched in 2001, so we're now into our third year. We're just into doing servicing tweaks, including improved analytics, improved geo-positioning, latest versioning on the underlying software, reduced server weight, so we don't have to spend quite so much on Amazon servers, and improved speeds. So this is comparable. We're using an app, we think, but with all the flexibility that you get with it without having to do the first app download as well. We sustain the project through the guided walks income, and you've seen there the guided walks programme we put on. That's a team of volunteers who go out every Thursday afternoon, plus special walks during the year. That more than covers the cost of running Explore Malmesbury and allows us to build up a pot for developing more content and other things as we go forward. And if we were in the business of making this an Explore anywhere else you could think of, it's there to be done. So if anybody's sitting there thinking, well, I'd quite like to do that, give me a shout, because creating a vanilla version that we can then roll out is not that far away as an opportunity. The web app itself has had 5,000 visitors since March 2021, but we're now starting to see growth based on some of the other work we're doing to promote it. 35% growth this year so far versus last year, and we've got a lot more other activity to go as we're starting to learn to know how to use it and make it work, because we've got the same challenges that everybody else who have got virtual apps, web apps and ordinary apps have got, which is how do you get people to use it in the first place and stick with it. Obviously we're learning as we go. One of the and this is our some basic info coming out of the stats. Who's using it? The people who are going predominantly to Explore Malmesbury tend to be younger, and I'm sure that's the same experience that you've had at Winchester 878. I'd be very interested to know whether that's the same experience with other apps around the room. So over 50%, well over 50% of our users are 34 and younger. Happens to be slightly tweaked towards males rather than females. Most of our users coming out of the UK, with us next in the US. In terms of devices, just over 50% is mobile, and 40% is desktop, with the balance in tablet. And as I said, we always appreciated that desktop use of looking at Explore Malmesbury would be part of the way To try and get user engagement, we've had to go down a number of different routes. Very important that there is a place in town for people to be able to find out about the app and get to know to use it, and that's in our town hall. So our Tourist Information Centre, the staff there will orientate people towards the app and help them get used to it. And we've got an introductory video running there as well as on the app itself. Having champions, of course. If you've got somebody who's active at your Tourist Information Centre in the app, say, have a look at Explore Malmesbury, users will shoot up. If people don't say anything, it doesn't. We do a reasonable amount of social media promotion, particularly locally. But I think, and this is a key point which I'm just going to come back to as we just work through this, is that if you're going to be telling stories, you have to do much more than just have an app or a web app. As we know, a significant part of our proportion of our audience coming into town, an app and web app is not the first place they're going to go. They want to see a paper version of the trails and the information that they can see. They want a different form of orientation, and we're providing that. So while I'm saying about 5,000 plus on the web app itself, the number of trail leaflets that we've given out in the town hall is significantly larger than that number. And this is what I mean. So all of our trails have got a paper-based version. We're just going to take them into the next stage now. We do this a reasonable amount of Instagram and Facebook promotion. We've got the leaflets, and that's one of our enthusiastic employees at the Town Information Centre. We've got www.exploremalmesbury.com written right across the town hall windows. We're showing videos, and we've got boards up in and around the main car park. So we're creating as many orientation points as we possibly can, and frankly, you can't do enough on that type of promotion. Since we've launched, created a lot of new content. We've done 3D experimentation, so you can see a 3D version of the Abbey with content embedded within that, if that is the area you want to go into. We've done a number of community projects, and I've mentioned those with the cemetery, and we put a scarecrow trail up as part of Carnival. We've done activity with local artists where they've done an art trail, and you've been able to do that virtually. And we're doing a lot more work with QR codes in terms of using those as a point of information. So the leaflet that you've got there with Explore Malmesbury last year, no QR code. This year, a QR code. That's starting to show a major difference in how people are starting to engage with the web app itself. And we're building more showcasing for our retailers. So we've just gone through a project where we're making a number of short films about them, and of course that will then sit in the historical information about their shop. And they've all got, those who want to take part or will be taking part, have got an area of content management space within the database that they can use for themselves to put their own new content up or to offer promotions and other types of activity. So what are our learning points? Well, quite simply that creating a web app is the easy bit. It's what comes after that or alongside it. The marketing, which has to be continuous and has to work at multiple different levels, that you need to be able to create as much entry points as possible. People see QR codes linking into shop histories in every single shop, they're going to use it more than if they don't, by definition. And the front of house, how you tell people, how you get them over the threshold of using it the first time and supporting them through it is absolutely key. Sound is important. And where we've made videos in the past, then adding sound and background into that, an atmosphere is important, and narration is important. So just having the words on the screen is not enough. People want to be able to hear those words too. So we're adding in narration now to a lot of our new content, and that Witch Trail that I illustrated, that's got much more of a degree of narration, say, than one of the first trails that we would have done 2 or 3 years ago. And we'll be building on that. QR codes, we had a long discussion back in 2018, QR codes, are they going to catch on, anybody using those? Well, clearly they are now very much part of day-to-day life, and to me, absolutely essential. I wouldn't go anywhere near anything like this type of project in the future without having the ability to QR code connect into key parts of your content in the type of environment that we've got. That you must have alongside your web app the ability for anybody who doesn't want to use a web app to feel that they can be included. So we can't lose the paper-based versions, the trails, the guided walks, or the other ways of telling stories. And then, finally, it's all about connecting, keeping imagining. I've already written down, at least 8 different things from the presentation earlier on that we now need to be thinking about in Malmesbury based on the Winchester 878 experience. And I hope that you've got 1 or 2 from what I've just been talking about. And just to leave you, one of our last human stories in Malmesbury, the tragic story of Hannah Twinoy, who was the first person in England to be killed by a tiger. And this is our showing of where she went wrong. We haven't been sued yet for having any traumatised kids, but who knows. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That's Explore Malmesbury.
Thank you. That was a really interesting presentation. I have a connection with Christchurch Primary. We are what those questions. One thing in my mind is, how has your relationship with the Abbey been? Because there is, we have found tension between ourselves and our town council. It's sort of ebbs and flows a bit. Sometimes partnership, sometimes we're very marketing partnership. But the Abbey presumably has its own trade event, and does explore the threat. What's your relationship like? How would you?
Yeah, it's a very good relationship. I think there's a representative from the Abbey on the town team, and he actually was one of our project team working all the way through, got very good technical expertise. So they were involved right at the very start, and immediately they saw the opportunities for helping them with their own storytelling in the Abbey. So they were very supportive, and it's not a threat to income because they're not charging. There's not a charge to go into the Abbey. Of course, this is free. It's more likely to bring people in than not, and when they're there, it's more likely to keep them engaged and then take them into the coffee shop and so on that they've got. So that just hasn't been an issue, I have to say. I mean, we struck a chord because obviously they were interested in how they were going to be telling their stories more, and I'm sure, like your Abbey, we've got some things that do work better if you can visualise them, and the opportunity to kind of recreate what the Abbey looked like when it was in its heyday. For those of you who know Malmesbury Abbey, it hasn't got a spire now, but the spire it did have was taller than the spire at Salisbury Cathedral. So, the fact that there's a great opportunity to do recreation stuff there was obviously very helpful. They're linked into the guided walks, as you've probably seen if you got down into detail, is that one of the team does walks around the Abbey the third Sunday of every month, so that's starting to build. And so we'll take it from there. That's at the macro level, and the Abbey is also very interested in a lot of the other historical storytelling that we do. The vicar wasn't quite sure whether we were going to go to the Malmesbury witch trials last year, so I said, "Well, come and do a talk for us, then. Tell us what your perspective on it." And he did, and that filled up the room, and that contributed a lot to the live theatre that we then put in as part of what we're doing. And we'll be using the Abbey big time next year for Athelston at 1100. Big parts of the live theatre will be based around there, and we're hoping to create a legacy project that will put some better lighting up on the Abbey out at the back of it. So it's about, I think, just trying to make those connections, and we're lucky we got characters there who are saying this is something we want to get involved with. I can understand if people aren't quite there yet, or you haven't got that earlier involvement with them, as it can take a bit more time to get them on board. But it worked okay for us.
Can I just ask one other quick question? And you mentioned developing vanilla versions.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that term. What does that?
In essence, what I mean is Explore Malmesbury is just Explore Malmesbury. Is just imagine that we've then got Explore Chichester, Explore anywhere else that we can think of, Explore Winchester, Explore whatever. So it's taking what we've got there and just setting it up so that you give people essentially a blank database and the framework to create content and to put it on in their particular area that they want to do. So there's nothing to stop us having multiple versions of this, and actually that's not a huge technical leap to get us there, and that's something that we're obviously hopefully talking about at the University of Winchester going forward as well. Certainly something our technical people are very keen to move to, or at some point in the not too distant future. So it can be done. And the benefit again of coming out of the web app base is that those type of costs are relatively easy to get to. And if you want to do most of your own content using archive and other material, or use local resource to make videos and stuff, and that content is no cost to you. It's just how you use it that becomes important.
Please don't go before I've taken your contact details.
Good, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, we've got time. It was really interesting, and I wish I'd known about the app when I was in Malmesbury, sort of closing when most of the shops were closed on a Saturday, sort of waiting to give a talk that evening, because it could have just helped me to understand the town a bit more. But I'll look out for it in the future. But I was just thinking about Elmer, the flying monk. Wonderful character. Probably out on there actually. It's a more English name, but it's a brilliant story, and probably an accurate tradition of early 11th century Malmesbury. I wondered whether the story could sort of lend itself to the development of a little app game or something like that. And I know you say it's a web app rather than an app, but it just feels playable, doesn't it? For kids, can you get how far can you sort of potentially using slightly.
You mean what Elmer's eye view might have been as he leapt off the church tower, and what happened to him as he glided his 200 yards. But I think that's an absolutely brilliant idea. I mean, if I had a magic wand and if there was a store lying vacant for too long, we probably will put the virtual reality Elmer game in there, and you can imagine strapping somebody in the wings and then doing a sort of flight. But there's lots of other opportunities as well, and I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
But I mean, just thinking of you, in terms of your relationship with the digital media people here, maybe it sounds like a student project, for example, to kind of gamify it either with that kind of realistic graphic or a kind of 80s retro style graphic. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, do the sort of simple thing. I mean, this is, that's just a little bit there, and the one we saw at the Abbey is the two unreal worlds that we've got sitting in underneath, and they're, and there's a lot more opportunity to do more with them, which we're working on. But we've got an unreal world of Malmesbury, sort of Saxon times, an unreal world of Malmesbury 1500. That's the type of area that the students have been populating. But I think it's a really good idea, right?
Thank you. Are some of the things done by students, the fly-throughs and things like that? Because I'm seeing names on the site. So the Winchester University, or former Winchester University student. And I didn't see James Wilson on the name for some of the fly-throughs.
No, it's it is the digital media and TVPP that are helping you on creating the content, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
Amy.
Amy, what you started doing. I had, well, a couple of questions, if that's okay. I wondered the extent to which you sort of embedded the QR codes around the city.
Yeah.
You were thinking about doing that, so you come across a lamppost that happens to be where a witch was accused, and you can access that straight away. Because I certainly, I think something from when we did Jane Austen 200 here, that sort of putting the history in front of people and making them look at it, or giving them the option to engage with it, I think is really valuable. So I wondered if you were already doing that. And then my ears went up a little bit when I saw the little bit of oral history about the lady talking about working in the shop.
Yeah.
And I wondered how much you were doing that, because this is a great tool to collect those stories and store them. Because oftentimes it's not very joined up, is it, in collecting oral histories, but this would be a great repository for it.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to sort of, how were people receiving it? Have you had much sort of reviews and things like that?
Yeah. It's three really good questions. So on the first one, we are starting to roll out QR codes in the way you were talking about. There's a separate project going on looking at physical signage across the town, because there's an awful lot of players who get involved with that, and we've got over 400 listed buildings. We can't just go around and start knocking up signs and QR codes and things all over the place. We've got to be quite subtle about it. And because so some of them will appear on boards inside shop windows, for example. You can do that, or we do put up short-term physical trails. So there'll be a Saxon trail up in the last weekend of May, because that's St Aldhelm's Day in Malmesbury, and he was our patron saint. So there'll be a physical trail you go around, and then you QR code onto those and go further. So we're looking to do that, and I think that's something that we kind of dropped into in the last 18 months or so, and that bit is building up quite nicely. So the museum now, where they've just done an exhibition about the Market Cross, and they cross-reference, or we cross-reference it back through Explore Malmesbury to that. So you can go and see a video on the QR code that's Explore Malmesbury from one of the display boards in the museum. So we're getting there.
Yeah.
But as a learning point, to sort of share, I just think that's there. The second point that you made there about the oral history side, that's interesting. I'd love to have much more of that type of content, and we're working towards it. We've got about 12, 15, I think, different examples around the site. The museum is a custodian. They've got a fantastic oral history project, Malmesbury Voices, and it's there. But it's a little bit of a negotiation. I think I'm probably in the situation in the museum, I'm getting into their voices bit as you are with some of the Abbey bits in Chichester to sort of try and do that. But it's there, and we're starting to move some more of that across. But also, as we take that out, because a lot of this is then about reaching out into this very active Facebook group in Malmesbury now and then. And I know that when I go out with some of this stuff and then say start giving us some history back and things, is that will become quite collaborative. It's about having the bandwidth to be able to manage that, really. But it's there to be done, so really good point. And it's important to say people love voices, love personal stories, and the more you can get to that. And the cemetery project's proven really interesting for that as well, actually.
Yes.
And then the third question you were just saying was
just about how people.
Oh, the receiving it, yeah.
What data you've got.
Yeah. Well, we got this. We got all the Google Analytics stuff, and if you sort of push me and say, do I want more visitors and that? The answer, absolutely yes. Because I know that we're pitching at 20,000 people coming through the 18,000 people coming into the town hall information centre. The numbers in the Abbey, are higher than that. So we're not by any means getting into all the different people we can get. I know that, we're doing better than some other types of apps, and if you compare that with downloads and stuff, that's not bad, but it's not enough. And I think it just illustrates the point that you have to have those other things going around it. What we are finding is that there is growing interest in people looking at it as a means of coming into, before they come to Malmesbury, to orientate themselves. And I think you were making the point earlier on about Winchester and project and schools and so on. We're starting to see Explore Malmesbury get picked up more by the local schools. We're working with them, so the Access to the 1100 project will be a big step forward with that. where the students themselves get involved in what's here, because you can cut and paste. I mean, we're almost Malmesbury's own AI version of Saxon history. You can go in here, cut and paste it, and you've got your Saxon history of Malmesbury type of thing. So we see more of that, and we do want to see school students involved in some of the creation of this. And one of the challenges that we're sort of putting out there to the local school, and particularly their sixth formers, say, well, come and make a trail. You can do that. We can put your content on there. We can put it up. We can take it down. There's no, let people have a go. One of the great things with this and student projects is that we've got a place to put stuff that people are creating, and that's visible and it can stay. And we can do that with school stuff. So we do put school art projects up. We've got that art trail that I spoke about earlier on through the artist's eyes. There are examples in there from a local care home where they did a quilt about Malmesbury. That's in there. And there are some examples of pictures done for a competition a year ago from one of the schools. So you can be very flexible, and that's one of the benefits of the approach that we've taken. Take it from there.
Kind of on break time, so if you want, is there any more questions?
I just briefly the question, essentially what platform you've chosen. But I know you said a lot of the content is created by the council team or the town team.
Yeah.
And what back end you're using to enable it?
Yeah, it's Laravel is the underlying database, I think. And I can get the exact sort of technical details, but it's essentially a proprietary database system at the back. It just links through, so that's it. But then it's very easy to create content within it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then maybe digging into them, we can discuss it out there. Have you used History Pin to upload stuff onto the History Pin platform, which you could do, and that will drive traffic to your app?
No.
So that's one quick thing that you can do. Have you thought about the Malmesbury diaspora? So you contact people around the world who are through social media, and then and other Malmesburys around the world. So then what you do is you link the Malmesbury butcher with the butcher that's in Malmesbury in Oregon or somewhere like that, and then you have a TV link up with that, so that you have a thing in your local TV there and here about that. That all drives traffic. We've got an archive of the project that you've done, and that will help with your white label project to roll it out for other instances of these types of trails. We need a national network, a national directory, so that you can find out where people have done similar things, so that you can cross reference and things, and thinking about IP. And then for user-generated content, so nursing homes, so you get grants for helping with dementia and so on, so that you record their experiences, you load their experiences in, and that drives more funding for the whole project. And they're involving the regional film council, so their archives, so you can load their content in for moving images, and then national sound project with VL and so on. So for all the history, you link the whole lot in together, and that will exponentially increase the impact.
Mm-hmm. I'm a bit disappointed with that list. No, I think so. No, seriously, it's all good stuff. One of the, like every organisation that's voluntary based, your challenge is what you can take on and where your bandwidth is and how you drive things.
That's why the History Pin thing would be really good.
Yeah, I don't know about that, so that's really interesting.
Well, History Pin's been going for 10 years and more, and so people have been loading their local experiences and also individuals, and you can do it before and after. You load your historic picture and you match it up with phrases like this today.
Yeah.
And then that way you can get linked into a bigger network of other people that are doing similar things.
Our equivalent is the Now and Then organisation that I spoke about, and that's where the rich repository of a lot of more recent Malmesbury history is, and that's a tap for us to open up and to use. Obviously, when you're doing this type of content, you do need to curate it, and you have got, you're working through to particular sort of standards and levels, so it's been able to manage that aspect of it as well. With the current, sort of setup, obviously, the database is as secure as it reasonably can be, but we are, have got a degree of management with that. Although we can, as I said with the retailers, we can open up. We are opening up particular areas to them to do their own thing because they know what they're doing.
Retailers thing is really good, so you can get money off your sausage roll and then do a tour if you download the thing, but only if you download the thing.
Yeah. If we went to that with our retailers, everything's a discount. They'd be giving it all away for free. It's we are about dwell time. Fundamentally, this is about people just spending longer in town. They spend longer in town and spend more money, and everything loops back into that. But, lots of really good ideas, and really appreciate that. Thank you.
Discuss it over, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.